So right off the bat, I have to ask you. So when NASCAR came to you and said, "Okay, you're going to be in charge of putting on a race on a naval base," what did you think, and what went into the prep from there?
Well, I joined NASCAR about 4 years ago to help look after the inaugural Clash at the Coliseum, where we took USC's football field and turned it into a quarter-mile racetrack. So I had been with the company for a bit, and my background is in non-traditional events. I was with ESPN for 25 years looking after the X Games. So, when I got the call about the Coliseum, I said, "Well, sounds about as X gamey as NASCAR could be. I can do this." I didn't know what a backside 1080 was 25 years ago, and I figured that out. And so here I am 4 years later, and so thrilled to be here representing NASCAR in San Diego.
And what did you learn from your time with X Games and ESPN that translated over to NASCAR, kind of maybe brought a different flair to the sport?
I think the fact that I was not a NASCAR fan when I joined, I had never been to a race, I had never seen a race. But again, working live televised sporting events for 25 years gave me the knowledge and the bandwidth to understand. I mean, this could have been a pickleball tournament that we were doing on the Navy base. It didn't necessarily change anything that it was a NASCAR race, and certainly I'm so glad it is that I'm a part of NASCAR and we're racing here. But I think just having that background in running non-traditional sporting events in unique places really has helpful. We've floated a big air ramp at Foz do Iguaçu Falls. We had a vert ramp on the Barcelona platform where Greg Louganis was in the Olympics. So like I've done things in crazy places. This definitely is at the top of that list. And again, just can't thank the people at Naval Base Coronado enough for being so willing to let us come in and take over their base.
And that's actually what I was just going to ask you is, how did this compare to other projects? Like what went into, I mean, shutting down a base effectively and putting NASCAR there?
And I think that's part of the lessons that we've learned is we've never shut down the base. They flew planes until Sunday. I mean, we've worked with them to maintain operational readiness right through when we started loading in mid-May. So we've worked hand in hand to educate the sailors who live on base, the folks who work on base. There are 34,000 people who live and work on North Island. So it is a full city. They have a public works department. And so that coordination of ensuring that one hand understands what the other is doing has been critical. And so, we've had a two plus year runway to build these relationships and get up and running. And I think at this point we're ready to go for Friday.
Yeah, you said 2+ years. So how long have you kind of been involved with the process and
All of it.
everything planned this?
Every step of the way. So when we sunset the Clash at the Coliseum, I had done X Games here in San Diego, and there were several of us who had ties to San Diego, and we were saying in NASCAR leadership, look, we want to keep racing in San Diego. I mean, we want to keep racing in Southern California. San Diego is such a unique and incredible market. And so we came down, we went up to Point Loma and looked down onto Naval Air Station North Island. We did not have any ties to the base initially. We were working with Sports San Diego, which is the sports council here. Mark Neville is the lead and amazing person who helped us get connected to Admiral Brad Jarrett, who at the time looked after Navy Region Southwest. And then things just started rolling. He liked the idea. It got all the way up to the CNO, who was Admiral Lisa Franchetti at the time, who blessed it in October of 2024. And then we were off to the races, four different contracts with four different branches of the Navy, working through how it was going to be come together. And I've been lucky enough to be involved in every bit of that.
Yeah, because obviously I know the fans have kind of seen, and even media has kind of seen, this got announced last year and then it's being run this year. But yeah, you have been in this whole process. I mean, dating back and everything was come together throughout 2024.
Yeah, and I've never had a runway like this on an event. I mean, typically with X Games, it was almost a little turn and burn. We'd get through Winter X Games in Aspen in January, and then right away you're on to the summer event in July, wherever it was going to be. So you had about 6 months to kind of put it together. And I'm sure you were working on it at the same time you were running Aspen, but this has been solely dedicated to this for the last 2+ years, which we needed, trust me. I mean, there was a lot to figure out that neither the Navy nor we had initially considered. And even to this day, even this morning, we're ready for sure. We're ready to welcome fans, but it's a first time event. So there's all kinds of things that pop up with any first time event.
Yeah. What were some of the big things that came up that you had to figure out that you guys had to figure out?
Parking, parking, definitely one. So we are very proud to say we have enough parking on base for everyone. We're being respectful to our neighbors in the city of Coronado and telling fans there is no parking in Coronado proper, that we need to let everyone park on the base. But when there are aircraft carriers in port or when there are special projects going, the base has all of these folks who also need parking. So just again, that communication being paramount, working in coordination. Can this command move to a different parking lot for 3 days so we can have closer accommodations for our fans? Things like that that you think, oh wow, we have all this parking. It's a massive military base, but the strategic steps that needed to happen and displacement a little bit of sailors who are doing their work to get it done for the fans.
Do you think, you talk about you had the longest runway you've ever had for an event like this. You
Yeah,
think that's more so just because of the nuances of the military, or just like, was there
absolutely.
any advantage that you've had with this, like
Oh,
having such a long
yeah.
runway?
Yeah, absolutely. It was an advantage. I mean, people who've worked with the military know this. There are many times where leadership has changes just due to people being deployed or, command changes and things like that. So we've been very lucky that we've only dealt with two captains of the base who have been incredible. Such support to us. Captain Ladislaw Montero, when we started, he was this commanding officer of the base, and now we're this week leading in. We've got Captain Lauren Jacoby. So even that, the transition between the two, seamless because we were able to have the time to build those relationships.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I imagine on your team, because I imagine you have a team working under you, like you probably have some people who are doing the Chicago street course, and they probably brought with the lessons that they learned from that race.
I think so. I think it's a little bit different because those were on public streets. And one of the advantages we have here is that it is all private, Navy land. I think a little bit of the challenges that we had here is this base has been around since 1917, and some of the roads definitely reflected that when we started looking at them for racing stock cars. And so we've been able to do some nice paving and improvements to help with not only our race course, but I've had several sailors stop me in the last few weeks and say, "Thank you, these roads are amazing." So I think while we definitely have lessons in Chicago, we've got our own unique set of lessons as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I imagine, for the city, it's kind of like, okay, you guys are bringing a major event to this piece of land over here. Cool, go for it. It isn't as much like Chicago where there's, maybe a little more red tape or bureaucratic mess. It's kind of like almost like a gift to the city in kind of a way.
Yeah, and the city of Coronado has been incredible partners. Everybody from Mayor John Duncan on down. We just had a press conference with the mayor and the police chief this morning, letting fans know what to expect this weekend. There is no parking in Coronado, so we're wanting to be respectful of the Coronado community, but at the same time also make sure that they're getting the spotlight shined on them as well. We worked with the Chamber of Commerce to help promote the local businesses. So we do hope people who are coming to the race who have never been to San Diego or Coronado will go and check out all the amazing shops, restaurants, things that Coronado has to offer.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I've already found a coffee shop, an Italian restaurant, a lot of good places there. So
Awesome. Good to hear. Well, Trident Coffee is one I'd like to recommend. It's actually owned by a former Navy SEAL, which is pretty cool. So it extends the partnership of Navy and NASCAR, and we did a NASCAR collab with them. So it's a pretty cool one to check out.
that's amazing. Wow, that's cool. Huh. Yeah. So kind of your interactions with the industry members and like what does that look like, because obviously, when coming out to a race like this, it's different from the typical race weekend. So like what does that look like to be able to get a read on what, the teams or industry and what people need when they're at the track and there?
Definitely, and I sure do not profess to be a NASCAR expert. We've got a whole team of colleagues in Charlotte who deal day to day with the race teams, and they've been incredibly supportive. I think it's again just ensuring the unknown is addressed and covered before they get here. I mean, it's far. You know, this is the longest geographic stretch in the NASCAR schedule. We raced in Pocono, Pennsylvania yesterday, and as we speak, the haulers are on their way to Southern California. So I think, you know, even just that distance, we were all saying good thoughts for sunny skies in Pocono yesterday, because if that delay had started, it would have just been a whole domino for the week. So I think that was one fear that we were able to check off the list for the industry. And then, you know, the differences that we had at the Clash at the Coliseum as well. Civilians can't spend the night on a military base, so we can't have a driver owner lot. We can't have the RVs that they're typically used to staying on here. So working accommodations and shuttling and things like that. So more of the logistical nuts and bolts than the actual racing itself.
Yeah. And what has been kind of like, I guess, like the biggest challenge, maybe from your perspective, or something that came easy? Like, what does that look like?
I think all of it has been such a lesson in learning. I feel so incredibly fortunate to have been in this role, and even my knowledge of the United States military and Navy. I mean, I lived in San Diego here for 3 years, and I would always look across the bridge and say, "What are they doing over there?" So I think, you know, kind of that mystery has been unveiled for me, that what the Navy is doing on every level, and people don't realize how many different aspects. You know, we have the underwater Seabees. Didn't even know that was a thing. The CBs are the construction crew of the Navy. The crew here is ACB-1. That's Amphibious Construction Battalion 1. These are the same folks who rescued the Artemis capsule from the Pacific Ocean, and they are now helping weld manhole covers and build our course. So all of those types of things, the support we're getting from the Navy that we just didn't even know was available to us has been incredible.
Huh. Yeah, that's wow. I did not realize that either. That's fascinating. Wow. Huh. Yeah. So you were talking about like you're really embedded, obviously, in Southern California. And I know it's a very important market for NASCAR, but it seems like kind of since Auto Club Speedway went away, it's been, we're at the Clash, the Coliseum. We're here in San Diego, maybe the short track may come back. What have you learned, I guess, from the Clash and now San Diego that, could maybe lead to a more permanent solution, or like, being able to have a consistent presence in Southern California? What have you guys kind of learned or seen?
I think it's opening the aperture to folks who may not traditionally go to a NASCAR race. And maybe, you know, for the first year of the Clash, it was more than 70% of fans had never been to a NASCAR race. It's the same here on Coronado. So the fact that we're able to get all of these new fans under the NASCAR umbrella and grow that fan base overall only helps reinforce that NASCAR stock racing is alive and well in Southern California.
For sure. Yeah, I remember. I mean, I guess that's the kind of the street course effect, because I remember talking with many people at Chicago and saying, "Hey, we never watched NASCAR before, but it was here, so want to
Sure.
come? And we love events, so let's
Yeah.
go."
Exactly. Yeah. And again, back to the, you know, kind of debunking the mystery of what happens over the bridge. I think a lot of people, and we are ensuring we have a nod to that naval history, and we want people to come here and learn, probably not as much as we did in 2 years and 3 days, but, you know, we've named the start finish line the Ellison start finish, because Lieutenant Theodore Ellison was Naval Aviator 001. This is the birthplace of naval aviation, and I'm not sure a lot of folks know that. We've got naval fun facts, you know, signage all throughout the venue so that we can continue to educate our fans not only on NASCAR, but also ensuring that they're understanding what the Navy's doing here as well.
And you guys have that military day, of course, on Friday with families coming in too.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our team and what we're going to pull off on Friday. So it's Navy Community Day, and we worked with the MWR team, that's Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, to get the tickets out to all of the sailors within the Navy region here in Southern California, and then a small number of Coronado residents, of course, being our neighbors here as well. And we've got, you know, a pit crew sailor showdown. This is going to sound like a low-key drop, but I was fortunate enough to spend the night on an aircraft carrier last April, and seeing the F-18s take off from the flight deck and noticing these guys coming out and changing tires on the planes and the similarities between what they're doing. So we'll have a pit crew sailor showdown where we're working together to see, Navy folks are showing NASCAR pit crews what they do and vice versa. We've got Q&As with Navy members on Friday. So I think really that all of the dignitaries on Friday are Navy. So I think fans will really see through the television product on FS1 that this is our strongest support. The name of the race is the Navy 250. So we're covered.
Cover for sure. I'm very fascinated to see that showdown, by the way. That sounds really cool.
1 o'clock on Friday, local time.
Good to know. Good to know. Yeah. And then of course Sunday. I mean, already you guys have a sellout. I mean, going to be the fifth straight Sunday sellout. I mean, how big is that like for this race?
It's exciting. I mean, the reaction from when we announced on July 23rd from the fan base, we have tickets sold in all 50 countries and 17 states. And I feel incredibly proud of that when there's this other little event going on called the FIFA World Cup that we're competing against. So the fact that we're able to even have these numbers is truly speaks to the strength of NASCAR fans and the support they have for the military.
Definitely. Well, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just so appreciative for everybody coming this weekend or tuning in. If you're not going to be here in person, we're on FS1 on Friday at 4 o'clock Pacific, the CW family of networks at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Amazon Prime Video globally at 1 p.m. Pacific. So thank you.